Africa is growing at an explosive rate. For one tiny country on the continent, the transformation is being seen as a miracle. The country is Rwanda. In November 2009, construction began on a huge 6 billion yen hotel. The project, involving American and Chinese companies, is led by a Rwandan. He has run a number of large-scale projects since returning from overseas 10 years ago.
We are very happy because I believe the chemistry works. My fellow Rwandans and entrepreneurs of this country, that this is the way to go.
In 1994, tragedy engulfed Rwanda. A conflict between two tribes escalated into genocide. 800,000 people lost their lives. But today, Rwanda is rising from the ashes. Foreign investment is flowing into the country. Conflict and extreme poverty, the stereotypical images of Africa, are hardly seen here. Rwanda is establishing itself as one of the continent's major business hubs. This dynamic growth is the result of a national strategy. An economic strategy conference organized by the government attracts a smartly dressed crowd of businessmen. Who are these people?
You have all the potential and possibilities to become as big as you can be.
But an old scourge has returned to Rwanda, one that threatens to destabilize the country. Ethnic tension has resurfaced in a number of regions. One man is taking action to combat communal strife. He has started a project to promote coexistence among ethnic groups. Can Rwanda overcome its tragic history and make a new beginning? This series of programs is about the African dream. Africa is continuing to grow, blessed with abundant natural resources and a huge market of 900 million people. Today we look at Rwanda, a country pursuing a miraculous recovery. Rwanda is located near the center of Africa. 10 million people live in a country about 26,000 square kilometers in size. The mass killings took place almost 16 years ago. How has life in Rwanda changed since then? We visited a village near the capital.
It's cheap. Clothes at a super low price.
This market was closed after the genocide. But now it is full of life and smiling people again.
No more ethnic conflicts. There's nothing better than peace.
A villager takes out his national identity card, calling it a symbol of peace. Today, people in Rwanda say they live in harmony without ethnic division.
In the past, ethnic identity like Hutu and Tutsi was written on the old ID card. But now we no longer have such division. We are all Rwandans.
Kigali is Rwanda's capital and economic center. It is experiencing an unprecedented construction boom. Hotels and office buildings are being built all over the city. A high-class residential area gleams in the sun. It's the site of luxury homes worth nearly 100 million yen. For the last 5 years, the nation's growth rate has averaged 8%, one of the highest in the world. Under strong government leadership, Rwanda has become one of the safest and least corrupt countries in Africa. Some of the key players in Rwanda's recovery are attending the Business Roundtable hosted by the President. The business elite of real estate, finance, and information technology. They all have something in common.
The UK, yes.
I came here from China.
China?
Yeah, from Beijing.
Beijing.
I came back from Sweden. I worked for Volvo and was in charge of technology development.
I came back in Rwanda in 2007, and I was in Canada before. I was working there for the National Bank of Canada.
They were Rwandans in exile, a diaspora that fled from long-standing ethnic conflict. These former refugees, now wealthy and experienced in global business, returned to their country in great numbers after the genocide. One of the returnees is Rwanda's president, Paul Kagame. He made it government policy to harness the skills of his fellow exiles.
Out there in different parts of the world, and I've been part of what happens there. When you reach here, what happens? Integrate this new thing you've learned or you've seen working in your own business. You know, that contributes to Rwanda. Being tiny is being tiny, so you can't accept being tiny. And you have all the potential and possibilities to become as big as you can be.
The government has introduced tax benefits to encourage those living abroad to return. Since the genocide, more than 1 million Rwandans have returned home. Their talents and huge financial investments have been the driving force for the country's speedy recovery. Rwanda's production of export crops like coffee is thriving. Its expanding tourist industry promotes guerrilla safaris to foreign visitors. Development of housing and hotels is also rising fast. The spending power of the returnees, meanwhile, has stimulated domestic demand. This is how the government envisions its future capital city. Office buildings occupied by the world's leading companies dominate the business district, while the shopping area is lined with luxury brand stores. Rwanda is striving to transform Kigali into Africa's main business center for logistics and information services. The Future City project is kicking off with the construction of a skyscraper. Kigali City Tower, the biggest office building in Rwanda, is being built at a cost of 3 billion yen. The project is being led by a former exile-turned-real estate tycoon. His name is Hatari Sekoko, and he is 49 years old. After many years living abroad, Sekoko came back to Rwanda 10 years ago. Since then, he has invested heavily in the construction of high-end hotels and international bus terminals. This office building, designed to attract major corporations from the West, will be fitted with the latest communication equipment, including fiber optic cables. Determined to make the landmark project a success, Sekoko searched for partners all over the world. He decided on a Chinese company for the construction because of its fast work and low cost. And he contracted an Indian company to supply the materials. The company says it can handle any kind of order through its network of 3 million Indians in Africa. Sekoko takes advantage of his contacts in the Rwandan diaspora to team up with the best partners worldwide. This network is his greatest asset.
These people are strong. We need strong person like you to come who are strong. And if the ground is final, you can come and really start your restoration. Because we are sure this measure.
The real estate king leading Rwanda's reconstruction actually learned the basics of business in an unexpected place.
Listen to me. Moshi Kyotoshi, this is Sekoko, how are you? Sekoko Cha.
Sekoko left his country with his parents when he was young and wandered around Africa. In the mid-1980s, he headed for Japan looking for business opportunities. He got his start in Osaka, exporting used cars to Africa. Living with the used car dealer he worked for, Sekoko learned everything he could about Japanese businesses.
Seeing how he was working teaches you quite a lot, prepares you quite a lot, right? And focus on development and development out of hard working. You know how you work. You work fast, you eat very fast, you respond very fast. It's possible. If you want something and you work hard for it.
Taking his profit, he went to South Africa and invested in diamond mining. Later, he made a fortune running a food processing company in the United States. Successful as he was in developed countries, however, Sekoko decided to go back to his devastated homeland, Rwanda.
The way you love your mother. I think you have a mother, or you had a mother, whatever it is, contributing the country program. I believe I deserve to have a contribution.
The Rwandan diaspora has played an important role in rebuilding the homeland. This community of exiles is the product of a tragic legacy of European colonial rule. They belong to the Tutsi ethnic group. In colonial times, this minority group accounted for roughly 10% of Rwanda's population. When Belgium colonized Rwanda after World War I, it gave political power to the Tutsis, while providing them with higher social status and education. This policy of discrimination fueled the anger of the Hutus, the majority ethnic group accounting for over 80% of the population. In 1962, when Rwanda became independent, the Hutu majority took control of the government and turned the tables. They started retaliating against the ruling class Tutsis. Many of the Tutsis fled into exile to avoid repression. They became Rwanda's version of the diaspora, the dispersion of Jews across the globe after the loss of their ancient homeland. The Tutsis who escaped from Rwanda spread across Europe, the United States, and the rest of the world. The exiled community eventually exceeded 2 million people. The turning point came in 1994, when more than 800,000 Tutsis remaining in Rwanda were massacred. response, the Tutsi diaspora organized an army which invaded Rwanda and formed a new government. This led to the returning of the Tutsis scattered around the world. As many as 1 million people, about half of the diaspora, came back to Rwanda. New Year's Eve. A service is held to celebrate the new year at a church in Kigali. A crowd of Tutsi returnees gathered to share their joy of welcoming the new year in their homeland. The service was broadcast live over the internet to about 1 million Tutsis still living in other countries.
What I wish for you this year is to dwell in God's presence.
Wars are still happening in many countries. But our country is blessed with peace and prosperity. Thank you, Lord.
Prosperous Kigali celebrates the new year. Something quite different is going on in Rusizi, in Rwanda's southwest. Trucks are coming in one after another from the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. On the trucks are Hutu refugees. They fled Rwanda after the genocide 16 years ago, afraid of reprisals by the Tutsis. The Hutu refugees are Rwanda's other diaspora. They started returning in large numbers when they heard their country had become peaceful and prosperous. After a 3-hour drive from the border, a refugee family of 10 arrived back in their home village.
What's going on? Why are you crying?
But sad news awaited the family.
My dad and mom are gone. They both died, leaving us behind.
The grieving woman thought she would see her parents after 16 years of separation, but they had passed away. The family set out for the 30-minute walk to their old home. But when they arrive, they face a situation they never expected.
Our house is gone.
The site where their house stood is empty, covered in grass.
This is a fragment of a pot. We've got nothing else left here.
2 years ago, a landslide hit this village and swept away many houses. The family's neighbors agree to take them in for the time being. Some 100,000 Hutu refugees have returned to Rwanda during the past year. The sudden population surge is a big burden on poor villages.
We have too many people, but not enough land, and not enough work to earn money either. Wit's end.
While the Tutsi returnees prosper in the growing capital of Kigali, most Hutus languish in impoverished farming villages. This widening ethnic divide is creating an explosive situation. There have been a number of attacks on Tutsis in different areas of the country. In 2009, 22 people died in such violence. The perpetrators were mostly poor farmers of the Hutu tribe. Many of the attacks occurred in Rusizi, where there has been a steady influx of refugees. A former Tutsi exile has been trying to do something to improve the situation. Eugene Nyagahene, 51. He hails from the Rusizi district.
So this is the second studio of the city center, so people can come easily to this studio.
Having lived in Europe for many years, he has seen a variety of initiatives on racial coexistence.
From our office.
He came back to Rwanda in the wake of the genocide and started the country's first private radio station. He believes that people must share accurate information. And now, he was thinking about launching a new business in an effort to ease tensions in his home village.
Hello there, Eugene.
On this day, Eugene was visited by his 50-year-old cousin Pierre, another Tutsi who lived abroad. He exports coffee beans to many countries, America and Japan among them. The two came up with the idea of setting up a coffee business in Rusizi, working with local Hutu farmers.
We'll have the farmers grow coffee. And they'll harvest the beans too. What we will do is build a plant and handle exporting. It will be a win-win for all of us. We share our skills and work together for a common goal.
Instead of just doling out support to poor villagers, work with them and prosper together. That, the two men thought, would be the way to go about resolving the racial tensions.
It can't be declared overnight, said, okay, I want to reconcile with my neighbors or my friends or whatever. It's a process. And one of the steps to achieve towards reconciliation is to share prosperity. Small prosperity in my village, it's a way of achieving reconciliation. And this is just the way I've decided to go.
As a site for their coffee project, Eugene and Pierre selected the village of Chingwa, a poor settlement nestled among steep hills in the Rusizi district. Today, Pierre visits the village to negotiate with the residents. Most of them are Hutu farmers. Still distrustful of the Tutsis, the villagers keep to their own tribe. Pierre chose this village for a reason. He'd heard that it is home to quality coffee beans, but the villagers don't know what to do because they lack the money and know-how to export them. Pierre proposed a joint venture. The villagers would grow coffee, and his team would construct a processing plant and export the harvest.
Let's build a factory on that slope, over there. If we all work together, we'll be able to make a lot of money.
The nation has seen few precedents of business collaboration between the Tutsis and the Hutus. While Pierre was winning over some of the villagers, others were not willing to trust him.
There was a time, of course, in 94, 95, 96, just after the genocide, it was very hard really to accept, even to see some other people. Better just forget, no longer coming here, because I don't want to see these people. That's one position that one can take. But the other position is say, okay, why not to come here and build a new society, build a new Rwanda?
Actually, the two tribes used to live happily together, as they shared the same language and culture. Mixed marriages were quite common. But Belgian colonialism tore them apart. Because the Tutsis are relatively taller and have more pronounced facial features like Caucasians, Belgian rulers decided they were a more superior race to the Hutus. The Belgians took body measurements. They gave preferential treatment to the longer-nosed Tutsis while discriminating against shorter-nosed Hutus, thereby establishing a racial hierarchy. This deeply divided the two tribes that once lived in harmony. It started a tragic history of hatred and repeated slaughter. was trying to get his joint project off the ground. On this day, he was on his way to his birthplace near Chingwa village. At the time of the genocide in 1994, his family was living in this village. But Pierre was away, studying overseas. Pierre visited the site where his family home once stood.
Here there was one of the room. This was one of the room. There was another room here.
Then came the genocide. A group of Hutu farmers from a nearby village attacked his family. They tried to run away, but his mother, Nyirandeji, and his brother and 3 sisters couldn't escape the pursuers and their machetes.
Sadness to see a place where my mother was living in this room, to remember my sisters were living in the other room which was here. It was really sad to see what happened, what human beings can do. And I was angry at that time, and I was sad.
But Pierre has decided to face the Hutu villagers head on. He owes his resolve to his mother, whose words planted a strong belief in his mind. She was convinced that the Hutus and the Tutsis would be able to live together because they're all Rwandans. It was a day she longed to see.
The most important thing is not to continue and stay in the same situation. The best thing is to live in peace with others and prepare a better life for our children. I should not forget my sisters who are living here, the good life that we had here, but still accept that we must go forward, we must continue living.
Pierre visited Chingwa village again and again in an effort to reach an agreement with the residents. On this day, he was to have one last talk. All the villagers were expected at the gathering, where they would vote on whether or not to proceed with the joint venture. The first to speak was the leader of the Agricultural Union, one of the supporters of the plan.
The joint project with Pierre will give us access to the global market and bring us huge profits. I hope you're all with me on this.
He was about to put it to a vote when someone spoke up.
I want to make sure of something. If the venture goes well and we make money, how do we know somebody else won't take it all away from us? Let me say something too. We need to also think about the ownership of our land. Some are worried that they'll lose their land.
That's right. Is he going to take away my farmland? No way! I'm not going to be fooled by his money. I will never give up the land I inherited from my ancestors.
One Hutu villager after another began to voice opposition. They were venting a distrust of the Tutsis that goes back to the colonial period.
This is going nowhere. It'll be impossible to reach an agreement. If you keep on like this...
Is the plan now going back to square one?
Please allow me to speak too.
Pierre began talking to the villagers.
I appreciate your taking the time to gather here today. I understand your concerns, but to change the village, I think this joint business is the only option we have. Your cooperation is essential to make it a success.
Pierre had one last hope for winning over the villagers. He handed out copies of a contract he had prepared for this occasion. It stipulated that all profits will be shared equally by the two sides. That's a very good deal, given that farmers' share is normally 30% or less for a venture like this. Pierre wanted the villagers to know that his project is different from past ones, that it's not meant to put one tribe under the control of another.
We're both equal partners. That's what's really important. If we trust each other and work together, we can achieve something big that can't be done by one side alone. Today, I want to promise you, I will do everything I can to make the plant a success. Let's remove the wall that separates us, one step at a time. I know we can do it because we're all Rwandans. Period.
After that, the villagers talked intensely for 2 hours. In the end, they gave their approval to proceed with the joint project. It was Pierre's offer to share profits equally that was the deciding factor. The joint project is a big step toward a society that his mother once dreamed of, a society where the two tribes live happily together.
It's really very important to come back and do something where we have our roots. Because if someone doesn't have his roots, it's something really very bad. It had a long way to go because I had to talk to individuals here, to talk to the cooperative, how to reach an agreement, and this is a wonderful thing to see that we are ready.
Construction is proceeding smoothly on Kigali City Tower, Rwanda's largest office building. The project is in its final phase. Only interior work remains before completion. %90 of the office space in the landmark building has already been reserved. Hatare Sekoko returned to his homeland after years of wandering around the world. Now a real estate magnate, he was already preparing to kick off a new project.
This is my next project. Now over here, it will be a total commercial district. The buses which come from even Uganda, the neighboring countries, it's 7 hectares. It's like, as I say, a bird you keep in a cage. The moment you open a small hole, it flies faster than the ordinary bird which has been in the tree. Because the other one is relaxing in the tree, it knows it can fly anytime. But the other one has not even had the hope, I can fly. So what happens when you open and give it, go for your freedom, what happens? It runs miles. There is quite big part of chances to grow into a better place. And you can see 10 years after it has come true.
At the end of January, a groundbreaking ceremony was held in Chingwa village for the new coffee plant. Cousin and project partner Eugene Nyagahene attended the ceremony with his family. Eugene suggested that the children help plant a coffee tree at the construction site. Prayed for the seedling to carry the torch of hope to the next generation, a hope that both the Hutu and the Tutsi tribes will continue to work and prosper together.
We still have to share this prosperity that we have in Kigali, share it with the rest of the country. We still have a long way to go. We still have a lot to achieve. So after me, there must be someone to continue to carry on with the dreams.
Colonialism brought racial division and hatred to Rwanda, ushering in a tragic period for the once peaceful nation. The power of the diaspora is driving the nation's recovery, but it's also beginning to rekindle ethnic tensions. Will the two tribes be able to regain each other's trust and build a new society together? Rwanda's struggle toward a true miracle continues.